So I had been in university classes for a number of years and had changed majors handful of times trying to figure out what I wanted to study and ultimately what career I wanted to have. And I didn't really know and was bouncing back and forth between different subjects. And I came upon student Aaron Wood, who was a Peace and Justice Studies student in the hall. And he was sitting at a table promoting the Peace and Justice Studies program. And he talked to me about Peace and Justice Studies and about how it's a discipline that focuses on social ills throughout the world, global violence, preventable disease, poverty, and about the theory and practice of preventing those things. And I was blown away. I didn't know that something like that was even offered at UVU, and was really glad I found out. As soon as he told me about the program and talked to me about some of the classes that he had been in, and I knew that was the program of study I wanted to pursue. And so I talked to Dr. Michael Minch, and he told me a little bit more about the programs, and then I started taking some classes from him and found out how much I could learn about the world and how much I didn't know, and how much there was to discover. And since then have been full speed ahead in my studies in Peace and Justice Studies, and have been given lots of amazing opportunities, internship opportunities. I've been on 2 different study abroad programs, and really just really grateful to have found out about it, and that it's given me purpose and direction, and not only the directions of study that I want to take, or career paths, but just giving me some direction as to how to think about what type of life to live, what type of human being to be in a world, especially given the context of my own privilege. So that's kind of what the path that I took with Peace and Justice Studies and continuing to take.
It is amazing. Now, what conception do you have about the world and about your relationship to the world and how you can affect it before going into the Peace and Justice program and then afterwards? Because I feel like there was some change that happened. I'm interested, how did that change?
Well, I think even before engaging with Peace and Justice Studies, I came from a perspective that people outside of my own community, people outside of my own country, people outside of my own social group mattered, and mattered in a way that needed to inform what I did with my life, what choices I made, what political involvement I had. And so I think the biggest thing that Peace and Justice Studies provided in that was saying, oh, okay, other people matter. Now here's some information you didn't need to know about other people in order to make those choices and decisions, and here's some theory and history to help guide that perspective, and so I think that's part of what Peace and Justice Studies provided that I didn't have before. What about you guys? How did you?
Well, I feel like for me it was kind of a lot along those same lines of, I started in history and political science, and so I got to know all the issues that were happening in this world and all the bad things, but we weren't coming up with any solutions. We were just saying that there were, Republicans and Democrats, and this is a problem. There's war here, there's war here. And then I took a prophetic politics class from Michael Minch, and it opened up just a world of new things that I hadn't even considered. I mean, we studied, Marx and Martin Luther King and Gandhi, and we studied books out of the Old Testament, and it just opened up a whole different range of possibilities and brought answers to solutions that, questions that came up during my political science classes, but then it also raised a whole bunch of other questions about how we're treating people and how we can, make this place a more equal place and give people chances to really live their lives, and that was that was awesome for me. It actually gave me some direction where I was just kind of floundering. I knew I wanted to help people as a career or to move along, and I had no idea how. I mean, I can be a firefighter, I can, help a little lady across the street with her groceries or whatever, but the Peace and Justice Studies program honestly gave me a pretty clear route on how to proceed with my life and how to help.
I love that you mentioned, actually, because I actually took that class as well,
I loved it.
and it was fantastic. Because as a young person, I'm coming here to UVU, and I was in the leadership program, fantastic, and I wanted to make a difference in the world and in humanity, right? And I'm like, oh, I want to go out there and do something that is meaningful, and yet. Wait, what is meaningful?
Yeah, exactly.
And what is peace that actually affects change and that makes things work out? And I love the fact that in Peace and Justice, we not simply talk about, oh, let's just make change, but there's certain types of change that happens that actually make a difference. It's not simply about just achieving peace, but well, what type of peace are we trying to achieve? And as a person that is trying to become a professional, as a person that is trying to, 40 years from now, go back in his life and say, you know what? I was alive and I did something special with it and I made the world a little bit different. This is the sort of things I learned here. How can we make a change that actually matters, that is meaningful, that is purposeful, and that would actually sustain peace? And it's so interdisciplinary, right? We talked about prophetic politics. There's social change, there's politics, there's also psychology, there's all these different things. And this is something that an interdisciplinary program like Peace and Justice Studies takes into account. Just Peace is the academic journal, the undergraduate academic journal that we have here. And I've been able to publish on the second edition on actually the prophetic politics, right? I investigate how can we actually sustain alternative communities that help to maintain peace in society. And this is great that I get that opportunity to share that, to share my little bit of thought, and I do it in an academically rigorous way, and I get to show this off as well to the world, and I've actually been able to present this as well at conferences, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think that's a great opportunity that Peace and Justice Studies provides for students, and will help students who are interested in going on to graduate school. And there's lots of different opportunities that Peace and Justice provides in that respect, particularly international experience. The study abroad programs that it's offered to Northern Ireland, to Haiti, to the Middle East, to Cuba. It has study abroad programs planned to Russia and Central Asia in the future. That type of international experience is really great for students in terms of their own development and for the type of credentials that it will give them in applying to graduate school or to future careers. Like if people go straight into their job field after graduating at UVU, it gives a type of experience that they might not find elsewhere, and I think a lot of us are really lucky to have.
Well, that brings up a good point, because it's great. We get this whole academic side of it where we learn all these things from books, but there's only, at least for me, there's only so much I can learn from a book, to be honest. It's hard. Like, I can't sit down and pull everything out, but with the Peace and Justice Studies program, we went to the Middle East and we were able to visit Jordan, the West Bank in Palestine and Israel, and also Syria. And we actually got to spend some time in a Palestinian refugee camp in Bethlehem. It was called Al-Karama. We got to spend the night there, hang out with the people, eat with them, really get to know them. And probably one of the coolest things about staying there was, and we were concentrating on peace and conflict resolution, most specifically with the Palestinians and Israelis. But they brought up, there was this lady, this girl that we were there, and she talked about how Egypt was the next place that was going to erupt. And we were there, and we were just thinking like, okay, yeah, whatever, we're worried about Palestinians. Wow. And then it was just the next summer, during the Arab Spring, that Egypt actually had their uprising. And so it was, it's super opening the eyes and everything. But it was, seeing that poverty, it gave me an avenue to really proceed in my career. I graduated from UVU with a minor in Peace and Justice Studies program. I was an intern with the Peace and Justice Studies program under Dr. Michael Minch. And now I'm actually working for an organization in Salt Lake City called The Road Home. And I'm in a position now where we help chronically homeless individuals get into housing. And so we aren't fighting the same type of structural poverty issues that they're fighting, you know, in the Palestinian camps in Jordan and Palestine. But it's the same type of thing just at home, and so it gave me a way to, you know, actually do that here, which is awesome.
For example, I was able to participate as a facilitator for the International Youth Leadership Conference in the Czech Republic twice over 2011. Now, I assisted young people, some of the most brilliant minds of their countries, to figure out ways to work together under heavily, you know, international environments. And some of my participants have gone on, you know, they've gotten awards of like Young Australian of the Year, or become, you know, work with Seeds of Peace and help Israeli-Palestinian children, you know, build peace together. That sort of opportunity that I've got with these wonderful types of organizations, it wouldn't have happened if I didn't have the education that I had here, and also the support that I've had from the Peace and Justice Program, which has been fantastic. And because of that, I can also come back and I can continue to enrich that classroom environment with whatever things I've learned, and also learn from what you guys have learned under your experiences. So I think that's wonderful.